Hi guys, you're watching CarBuyer Singapore, and here with me we have a car that is made in Singapore. This is the Hyundai Ioniq 5 all-electric vehicle, and to be honest, calling it made in Singapore is a little bit of a stretch because technically this is a CKD car that is assembled in Singapore. But still, support local! Now, Hyundai says that the design of the Ioniq 5 is inspired by their first series production car, the Hyundai Pony, which was on sale sometime in the 70s and 80s. And you can see a lot of these 80s references, like these pixelated headlamps with DRLs, and basically this car looks like a retro, modern, cyberpunkish version of what you would think an 80s hatchback would look like. Now the retro modern theme continues on in the rear, where you can see these pixels in the tail lamp cluster and these illuminated tail lamps. And you have the Ioniq badge spelled out here with no Hyundai badge, funny enough. But honestly, looking at this, you can see how it's really inspired by 80s design, especially cars done up by Giugiaro, like the Hyundai Pony. But honestly, looking at this, it looks like a hatchback that's been scaled up to an SUV's proportions. Now, because it's an EV, you have less design constraints because you don't have as much running gear as you would have in an engine. So this has really short overhangs in the front and rear and a very long wheelbase to accommodate the battery pack. But a long wheelbase also means a roomier interior. Now, the inside of the Ioniq 5 is a really nice place to be. Now, I wouldn't call it minimalist, but it is very nicely put together. Everything you need is within reach, and you've got these lovely metallized buttons for your infotainment system. You've got this touch panel for your HVAC controls. You've got two 12.3-inch screens, one for your infotainment, one for your instruments, and you've got a steering wheel that doesn't have a Hyundai badge on it. But honestly, it is just a little small design cue that's kind of interesting in this day and age. Your gear selector is here on the bottom, and even the indicator stalks are really well damped. Now, it is very roomy in here because the batteries are just packed way down in the floor. You've got a massive moonroof that allows more light to enter the cabin, so it feels even more spacious than it actually is. And you've got a moving center console to store stuff in it, and there are plenty of storage options here. You've got wireless charger, USBs, 12-volt charger here. But the best feature about this is, let's just say some idiot parks too close to you on your right, you can just shift this back, crawl into the left passenger seat, and get out or get in. This is something we haven't really seen before. We know most cars have electronic seat controls, but have you ever seen calf supports? Now this extends out so you can basically lounge back in your chair while you're charging your car. Because I don't know how you're going to do this when you're driving, but it really is quite comfortable in this chair when you set it up just so. But honestly, even when you put this down when you're driving, I can feel it brushing against my calf, and it's not exactly the most comfortable solution. But hey, it's great for when you gotta wait hours to charge your car. Unless you have a 350 kilowatt charger, then you have 17 minutes before you gotta go again. But still, good to have. Now, I have the rear bench fully extended to the front, and I'm sitting behind my own driver's position, and even now, I've got, well, a little bit of knee room. But if you want to sacrifice a bit of boot space, shift the whole bench back, and you've got loads of room in the back. And if you want, you can even recline the seats even more, so you can just gaze up at the sky through the moonroof. But I mean, it has a 527-litre boot when you have it extended all the way to the front. But if you want to sacrifice a little bit of boot space for comfort, I don't see why you shouldn't do that, because honestly, you wouldn't have rear passengers complaining back here. If they do, kick them out the car. Should we keep that take? Now, this particular Ioniq 5 is fitted with a 58 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which according to Hyundai should give you about 380-ish kilometers on the WLTP cycle. But this can be charged at a rate of up to 11 kilowatts under AC charging, which can be topped up from 10 to 100% in about just under 5 hours. But it supports a maximum charge rate of 350 kilowatt hours. So technically, that gives you 10 to 80% in 17 minutes. Now, we can't prove that because there are no chargers in Singapore that will work that quickly. But the good news is, this vehicle supports vehicle-to-load charging. So you can just take this gimmick, plug this in here, and you have a 3-pin socket that can allow you to power toasters, laptops, projectors if you want to go on a picnic. I gotta take it out. How do I take it out?
2,000 years later.
Was it rolling? Now, because the Ioniq 5 has no engine to speak of, you have less running gear and you have a little cubby hole in the front for some storage, which fits a backpack or two. But we don't recommend you keep fresh fish or ice cream or anything that needs to stay cold because it can get quite warm in here. But still, it's nice to have a bit of storage in the front. So I'm behind the wheel of the Ioniq 5 Prestige 58 kilowatt hour version. The Prestige being a trim variant, which means that this particular car gets a few more bells and whistles over the base exclusive one. Now, this is a Cat A COE vehicle because it has less than 150 horsepower and it's an electric car. So the specs of this car, it has 145 horsepower, 350 Newton meters of torque. It does 0 to 100 in 9.5 seconds, which is decent for a Cat A car, and it tops out at 185, which honestly you wouldn't really use on Singapore's roads. Now, the other interesting thing about this car is that because it's only a 58 kilowatt hour battery, it has an on-paper range of 384 kilometers on the WLTP cycle, which is, well, I'll be honest, it's not the most amount of range you get in an electric car, but it's modest. I mean, most Singaporeans' daily commutes won't last more than 50 kilometers, so you could do 7 of those trips and have enough charge left to drag yourself to an electric car charger and top the batteries up. Now, being an electric car, it is very, very quiet in here, which only adds on to the comfortable atmosphere of this car. I mean, it's comfortable, the springs are really, really soft and pliant, so anything that the Singapore road network throws at it, it can handle it, no sweat. But then comes the issue of the turning radius. Because of its long wheelbase, which gives you a lot of room in here, the turning radius is quite poor, especially so if you're in a very narrow HDB car park trying to pull out of like a lot or something, and there's a row of cars in front of you, so it can get a little bit scary at times, so you might have to like put it into reverse and then go in and out and hold up the traffic, unless you do it right. But that aside, this is a very, very, it's quite value for money for where it is. I know it's not that powerful, it's not that quick, it doesn't have a lot of range, but you are getting quite a lot of bang for your buck. This is a lot of car for the money you're paying. And as to how much money, well, as we're filming this right now, it's about 207,000 Singapore dollars. But COE is coming up, so we're just going to put the updated pricing right here, somewhere at the bottom. What do I think? Well, if I had the money, this is quite a no-brainer actually. In fact, I might go for the 77 kilowatt hour battery version just because range anxiety is a very real thing. But if you don't need like 500 kilometers of range in a single charge, you could very, very comfortably live with this car day to day. I mean, if I had a charging port readily available at my house, it's a no-brainer really. I have to just plug it in and when I wake up in the morning, it's ready to go. 384 kilometers on the charge. And I say 384, but it might drop because on paper, this car has a quoted efficiency of 16.7 kilowatt hours per 100 km. But I am getting about, 19 kilowatt hours, which is not that far off from the actual quoted range, but you just have to be mindful of this sort of things with an EV, It's not like an ICE car where you can drive a little bit more efficiently and squeeze a little bit more range out of the car. That's it. It is good. This car is good. It's very good. And it's also made in Singapore, so if you're a patriot, it's an added bonus. So that's our review of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Do let us know if you like it. Also, give us a like and subscribe if you like what you see here. And do check us out on carbuyer.com.sg for the latest news, reviews. We're also on TikTok and Facebook, so do check that out as well. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again the next time.